Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to a unexpected live stream. I was going to do it earlier today, but due to the unexpected snow that came, it's kind of difficult to actually be able to. I was going to do a product review today, but we'll schedule that for the weekend. But figure why not take the opportunity to talk about a very interesting subject that came up the other day. We're going to kind of go over the subject of scrapping computers and is there any money in scrapping computers? Well, yes and no. It depends on where you go, what connections you have, what companies are around. And it also depends on the equipment. There's actually the very interesting controversy is the newer motherboards are not actually worth as much money as the P4s and newer. I guess there's less gold on the circuit boards than on the P3s and newer or earlier, rather. So it depends on your scrap dealer or your scrapper. But personally, if you expect to get rich off of scrapping computers, it's not going to happen. And even those companies out there that do scrap computers and electronics and other miscellaneous stuff, the thing that you also have to realize is if you actually do get into the business of doing that, it's not a it's really not 100% viable to completely get at. But basically, the thing that you also have to look at is what's your cost, transportation, um, if you're going to actually go and pick up the goods. And chances are some of the electronics that are going for scrap, there's chances are there's actually nothing wrong with them, like computers or. The thing is, anything that doesn't actually work or is deader than a doornail, yeah, I'd go ahead and just scrap it. But if you can possibly make money off of any of the devices, you're not going to make a lot off of it. But if you can sell it as working condition to somebody else, or if you can get some use out of it or something, then that's not a worse option to look at either. But basically, the thing that you also have to consider with scrapping is when if you're doing hard drives and that, you don't want to send those overseas because a lot of times you get dishonest people over in third world countries that actually go through all the hard drives and they kind of steal information. Well, you got people in the United States that do that too. But at least when I do it, I don't actually look at what's on anybody's hard drives when they come in. A lot of times, what I'll do is I'll either shred them or I'll just expose the inside of them with an angle grinder and destroy the disc platters beyond any recoverability. Or there's other fun methods of destroying hard drives. You can take a 10-pound sledgehammer to them on a concrete. Uh, you could take it out to a shooting range and blow some bullets through them, just as an idea. It's not something that you necessarily have to do, but I don't know. You could make some fun out of it. But or the conventional shredding if you got proper shredding equipment. I don't personally own a shredder that's industrious enough to do that, but I got connections and people that I can get that stuff done. But basically, enough said about hard drives. But the thing that actually brings in most money is like the processors. Some of those processors you can get about $30 a unit because of the gold and stuff that's the stuff that's not really worth any money is like circuit boards out of a ballast or there's really not that much precious metals on stuff like that, but it's mainly the computer motherboards and RAM chips, CPU sockets, processors, heat sinks. Not even the heat sinks aren't at this time aren't really worth a huge amount. But when you go to the scrap dealer or if you got a scrapper that comes in and picks it up, the more you have at the time of sale, the better. If you can manage to get about 50 pounds worth of P3 and earlier motherboards, you can actually make a decent chunk of change. Not enough to get rich off of it, but be enough to walk over. But the other thing that you also have to look at is what do you do with all the plastic bezels and plastic cases and metal cases? Because not every scrapper is going to buy those material buy those as for scrap. Now, if you got somebody out there that's looking for those cases as spare parts, or wants the plastic bezels as replacement parts to sell on eBay or something, that's not the worst idea because sometimes people are looking for the front bezels because either they got one that's cracked and they're looking for a replacement. So there's money to be made off of all those parts. You just have to have the right buyers at the right time, and not every time is perfect. So timing is very keen in that end of the business in IT. And personally, when people bring computers for recycling in that, I don't get just computers. I get printers, I get speakers, I get stereo equipment, I get routers and servers. And actually, I don't get that many servers that come for recycling, but I get phones and cell phones, tablets, and tablets actually bring in the money. Surprisingly, depends on how many you have for. But basically, there is within a year's time, you could probably. I kind of got a figure sheet going here. Somebody get the adding calculator going here. So, for instance, I was going over last year's. So, in a total year, $1,829.25. But that's not all of it. That's just kind of a portion. Not every time you're going to get that, but it depends on what you have, what goods you have to sell. So I hope let's shed some light on the subject a bit. And even TVs, you can. There's not a lot of precious metals on TVs, but it's still interesting tearing that stuff apart and actually looking inside and all that. And a lot of times, if there's anything that actually does work, I'll actually sit and use it or resell it and play with it for a while. And why not? It's one man's trash is another man's treasure in some perspective. So I hope you all enjoyed this little mini live stream here, talk on the subject of scrapping. And so, well, God bless everybody. Take care, and we'll probably see you sometime around the weekend once I get everything situated for the product review.